There are some vehicles that simply exist, and then there are vehicles that shape a country. In Australia, the Toyota Landcruiser is part of the national landscape. From red dirt station tracks to coastal fishing towns, the Landcruiser didn't just get people there, it helped build the places they were going. And at the heart of that story sits the 40 Series. Produced from the early 1960s into the mid-1980s, the 40 Series wasn't just another model in the lineup. It was the machine that earned Toyota its reputation for toughness in Australia. The kind of reputation you can't buy, only earn. The Landcruiser itself dates back to the early 1950s, but the 40 Series, introduced globally around 1960, was the first truly iconic shape. Boxy, simple, honest. Built on a ladder chassis with leaf springs and live axles, it wasn't designed to be comfortable. It was designed to work, and in Australia, that mattered. At its core, the 40 Series came in three main wheelbase lengths: the short wheelbase, the classic FJ40 that everyone knows and loves; the medium wheelbase, the lesser known FJ43 and the different variants; and the long wheelbase, the utes and troop carriers like the FJ45 and the HJ47. That simple platform allowed Toyota to build a whole family of vehicles, all sharing the same mechanical DNA. And in Australia, that versatility was everything, because here, one size never fits all. The most recognisable model was the FJ40. Short wheelbase, two doors, removable hard or soft top, flat panels that you could repair with a hammer and a fence post. Early Australian models were petrol powered, using Toyota's F-Series inline six-cylinder engine. It certainly wasn't fast and it wasn't refined, but it was reliable and it would run on almost anything. Standard features were minimal: vinyl seats, rubber floor mats, steel dash, manual everything. Options included PTO winches, different gear ratios, hard or soft tops, heater kits, and bench or bucket seats. It certainly wasn't a lifestyle vehicle, it was a tool. And in the 1960s and early 70s, that tool became a familiar sight across farms, mines and construction sites. By the early 1970s, Australia wanted diesel. Long distances, heavy loads, and a growing appreciation for fuel economy meant that petrol engines were no longer the only answer. So Toyota introduced the BJ40 series. Same body, same chassis, but under the bonnet, a tough, low-revving 4-cylinder diesel engine. It didn't make much power, but it produced strong torque and it would run for hundreds of thousands of kilometres. For many outback operators, this was the Landcruiser they'd been waiting for. While the FJ40 became the icon, the long wheelbase models did much of the real work. The FJ45 was the classic Landcruiser trayback: simple cab, leaf springs, and a big open tray ready for tools, fencing gear, or livestock feed. It was the kind of vehicle you bought once and kept for decades. Then came the Troop Carrier, or simply the Troopy. Built on a long wheelbase chassis, the Troopy featured a long enclosed rear body and inward-facing rear bench seats. It was designed for mining companies, military use, remote contractors and tour operators, and in Australia, it became a legend. Later versions included diesel engines like the HJ45 and HJ47 with Toyota's durable H-Series 6-cylinder diesel. These engines were slower than petrol versions, but they would run forever. And in the outback, forever was exactly what you wanted. One of the reasons the 40 Series succeeded in Australia was the sheer number of configurations available. Across the range, buyers could choose different wheelbases: the short, the 40 Series, the medium wheelbase, the 43, and the long wheelbase, the 45 and 47. There were different body styles: the soft top wagon, the hard top wagon, the pickup or ute, the troop carrier, and of course the cab chassis. There were different engines: the petrol inline 6, the F-Series, the 4-cylinder diesel, the B-Series, and the 6-cylinder diesel, the H-Series. There were two different transmission options. The early models came with a 3-speed manual, and later on they moved to a 4-speed manual. And there were dozens of factory options: PTO winches, dual fuel tanks, heavy-duty suspension, different final drive ratios, safari roofs, ambulance bodies, mining spec packages. In many ways, the 40 Series wasn't just one vehicle, it was an entire toolbox on wheels. Exact sales figures for each 40 Series variant in Australia are difficult to pin down today, Toyota did not always publish detailed breakdowns by model, but what we do know is that the Landcruiser became one of Toyota's most important vehicles here in Australia. By the time the 70 series replaced the 40 series in the mid-1980s, the new generation would go on to sell around 340,000 units in Australia alone. That level of success didn't appear out of nowhere. It was built on the reputation earned by that early 40 series in the decades prior. Globally, the Landcruiser would eventually pass 10 million units sold, a testament to the legacy of models like the 40. The 40 series really worked in Australia. The secret wasn't just reliability, it was simplicity. Everything about the 40 series was built for the places where help might be hundreds of kilometres away. Mechanical fuel systems, solid axles, minimal electronics and simple interiors. If something broke, you could usually fix it yourself. And if you couldn't, your neighbour probably could. By the early 1980s, the world was changing. Buyers wanted more comfort, more safety and more refinement. Toyota responded with the 70 series, a more modern evolution of that same tough formula. And just like that, after more than 2 decades of service, the 40 series quietly stepped aside. No farewell tour, no big announcement, just a slow fade from dealers' showrooms into farms, mines and bush tracks around the country. Today the 40 series is more than just an old four-wheel drive, it's a symbol of a certain era. An era when roads were rougher, distances felt longer, and vehicles had one job, to get you there and back again. For many Australians, the 40 series wasn't a weekend toy. It was the farm truck, the station vehicle, the council ute, the mining bus. It was the vehicle that showed up every morning, turned the key and got to work. And maybe that's why, decades later, these simple, boxy machines are still loved. Because they remind us of a time when toughness mattered more than technology, and reliability was everything.